In case you have not watched the intro and unboxing video, please click here for those. They contain the introduction and details for the parts and components that we are going to be assembling and putting together in this video today. Now, very important thing to know, do not under any circumstances remove this. You need to remove it when you install this processor on this device, but do not throw this away. Now, for whatever reasons, if the motherboard's faulty or for whatever reasons you need to return this back, you need to keep this. Otherwise, ASUS will not guarantee your warranty claim. So please keep this in mind and store this carefully. So now, let's first remove the pin, open it out. So it opens and we flap it open. Now, the important thing to note is there is a couple of notches on the processor, if you can see right here. These are the two notches on the side. These notches, and this is a gold triangle at the bottom edge. The gold triangle needs to align to this side, and the two notches need to align to the two parts that you have here and here. So that's important. Place your processor. Just place it, don't press it. It just fits snugly on top, and then all you need to do is just take this in, flap it close. Now this, flap it close, and yep, that's it. It pops up right out on its own. I think I might have done something else. Yep, I think that's it. It's just very hard, so you need to press a little hard on the stand for it to go back straight in. Yep, so that's how you install the processor. Now I will just clean the surface. So I'm just going to apply a bit of thermal paste on the top, but just gently, a bit of it is enough. Just need to place the cooling fans right at the 4 holes that's provided on either side. So we just put this in place and it should snap right in. Important thing to know, now that you have installed the CPU fan, the pins at the back, you need to make sure that they align and all of them are equal, so that you know you have a perfect fit for the fan. And now we remove this. And we connect our CPU fan. So we connect the power connector for the CPU fan, which is right about here. There is the IO pump, but in this case, the CPU fan is right here. The IO pump is right there. CPU fan is right here. So we will leave the second wire connector on. I should not have removed that one. And here we go. Yeah, it slides right in. A little bit wires extra for my taste, but that's okay. Now all we have to do is install our RAM socket and our SSD. And I think we're good to go after this, which I'll go through in detail on the other video about the SSDs. So now let's go right ahead and install our M.2 drive. Now both of them are both the ports that we have on the M.2, as you can see. This is our first port and this is our second port. The fastest M.2 is the one that's closest to the motherboard, to the processor. In our case, though, the speed in which both our connectors are on is both PCI Express 3x4. So it really doesn't matter, but let's say for the sake of it, we will connect it closest to our CPU. So we go right there. And we need a screw for the, see, it flaps right out. So you need to install it in an angle, and there's a screw that's right there that needs to be installed. So we need to pick is to have a set of screwdrivers. So you have different knots, different options. to help you along the way. So you can see the Intel 660B SSD that we have right here, and that's what we're going to install. And ASUS has provided us with the mounting screws for this, which was inside the packet of the motherboard that's there. You could miss this. I picked up the other one and I missed to see this one, which I went hunting for, and then I found it. It's inside the, it's provided along with the motherboard. So we need one of these screws to mount this. So let me just go ahead and take one out. There's one thing I kind of missed, so I just want to go back to, which I just realized after I had looked at it. If you see the M.2 drive, and if you see the angle of this, I made a mistake and I had taken the single screw and screwed it straight onto the part of this end of the M.2 drive. But if you can see this a little closely, as you will be able to see that I hope you can see this. It has a little bit of a raised platform right there. So because of which, when I slot the M.2 in, it's and if I screw this down, this basically goes down at an angle like this. This stays up and this is lower. This side is lower and this side stays up. So to balance this out, what they have provided is, they have provided us with a frame pin at the bottom, where we can mount this down on the ground to raise the height of where the screw goes in, and then you can put the other screw at the other end. So first we got to do this is take this and screw it. So this is, ours is a 2280, that's the long head, so which uses the last pin here. So we will go ahead and screw this jacket onto the last pin. So which we will slot right in there, push it down. Yes, now if you see, this is on the same level, so this is perfectly correctly aligned. So now that we are ready with that, we go right ahead, put this in, and boom, we're finished with the installation of the SSD finally. So here the mention is to always use the DIMM sockets. Let me just turn the motherboard on so you can have a better view of this. So the usual method of installing the RAM is always the DIMM sticks. So they mention to always install first on the second or the last, one of these two. So that's how it usually reads the RAMs first. So another thing to note on the ASUS ROG board that I have here, you don't have two pins to open up the RAM slot. It has only one pin on one side. So all I do is open up this one pin, slot I need to just align the notch correctly, slot this in, and voila, only one side goes up and the RAM is installed. So let's go ahead and begin with our next part of the PC build, which is going to be to install our PSU inside this cabinet. Let's get our pin connectors in first, as I removed them already. So that there's the 16 pin and the 8 pin. That's the 8 pin for the CPU and that's for the motherboard. So let's go right ahead. The 16 pin, it's a fairly simple, easy install. So we can just go right ahead and clock this here. There's just one way to go about it. The insertions are only on one side. So it's a fairly simple job. We just clank that in. And then the 8 pin. So the 8 pin power connector goes here. for the CPU, which also you should hear an audible click for. Maybe I think I should do the power and HDD also before I plug it in. I think the power pins are long enough for me to wire them in. So let me go ahead and do that. So that's our USB 3.0 front port pin, so which kind of goes in to this portion on the board. So you got to match this notch with this notch and plug it straight in. So that comes with a snug fit. And then we have all our HDDs, power LED connectors. So let's go ahead and do that. So the power LED plus and minus comes here. No, that's power SWD. So you got to match each wire and the connectors with the corresponding connectors on the board, which are the first two. So in this case, the plus and the minus, that's got to be first two. It's got to be the plus and minus. Then use the power SWD. I hope you guys can see it. Sorry about the camera angle, but unfortunately, maybe I can show you the pin once it's installed. It's also available on the motherboard. It's also available on the manual, motherboard manual, which is provided. We complete first Intel build, the i5 9400F the M.2 drive with 512 GB. That's an Intel 660p, roughly going up to 1500 megabytes per second read-write speed. There we have the graphic card, which is the PCI Express graphic card 16X MSI GT 710. That's purely for running this because the processor requires a discrete GPU, does not have an onboard GPU. So those ports at the back are useless for us. That's the ASUS ROG Strix B365G gaming motherboard, and this is an EnthTech 550 modular PSU. It's continuous power with 80 plus bronze rating. That's for cost concerns. And as you can see, we have a DDR4 RAM. That's a HyperX 2400 megahertz. Overclockable, by the way, and got a metal heat sink for heat dissipation, which is really good. So that's about it. And I guess we are completed with our first build. And this is on an EnthTech ASK 3000, which is an enterprise model cabinet, which has your front USB ports, 3.0 ports right here, and audio in and audio out, and mic in. So yes, guys, the next thing I'll be doing is completing this, booting the BIOS, giving you a brief about the BIOS, and also about the Windows, and maybe later on I'll say do a small performance update about a benchmark for this program, for the CPU. And welcome back. As I mentioned, I've just connected our i5 9400F system, and we're trying to boot into BIOS, and there we go. We have it up. Now I'd just like to show you guys what the settings in BIOS looks like. This is the ROG B365G motherboard's BIOS that we're trying to boot into. As you can see, you need to press delete or F2 to enter the UEFI BIOS. And I hope, yes, there we go. As you can see here, the details, it's all correct. And we have everything, I think, is connected and up and running. That's the ROG Strix B365G Gaming BIOS version 0206. And that's our processor that we can see right here, Intel Core i5 9400F at 2.9 gigahertz. Speed is 2900 megahertz. That's our memory is 8192 MB. DDR4 2400 megahertz. And yes, and you can see the DIMM slot status. DIMM A2 is where our RAM is being installed on. And that's our CPU fan that's running, and that's the chassis fan that's running, so we can see the RPM speed. This is actually a very nice BIOS boot, I must say. The first ASUS ROG BIOS. It has an easy system tuning option as well. And here we go. This is our boot manager. That's the Intel SSD 660p 512 GB. I've already set this up so you can see this. And we can go ahead and let me show you a few things. We have our XMP profile. So I'll just show you how to do this. I'd already done this before, but let me just run you through. So as soon as you boot, these are the basic things you need to check is the processor, the RAM, the speed, and the quantity of the RAM that we have installed, the SSD, and the size of our SSD, and to make sure that it's set on the boot priority. So since we don't have any other hard drives, that's just the SSD right there. So let me just quickly go into, I'll just show you. Quickly, we go into the advanced mode down here. That's the F7 key. And you can see all the details that are running. That's the BIOS versions, as I mentioned, the processor. And so this i5 9400F CPU runs at 2.9 gigahertz base clock and 4.1 gigahertz boost clock, turbo boost technology. The memory frequency is 2400 megahertz. That's the maximum this supports by default any which way. But I will just show you quickly. If you can see up here, you need to go into advanced. And if you go to the CPU configuration, you can see the CPU speed.
where it shows you 6 cores, 6 threads, 2900 megahertz. And and you can see the L3 cache of 9 MB. And you just need to see everything else is set to auto. Then you can just quickly go to the CPU power management, where you can see turbo mode is enabled, speed step is enabled, speed shift technology is also enabled. But that's about it. And then we go back. You need to go to this AI tweaker, and the only thing that you need to go to is go to the XMP. XMP is your RAM profile. Here it's automatically set to the RAM because it's automatically detected it and set to 1.2 volt. So in case if you have faster RAM than 2400 megahertz, as this motherboard only supports 2666 megahertz, you need to come into the XMP profile to enable the overclocking of your RAM for the higher speeds. That's the reason why I mentioned that you need to do this. Since our RAM is well below our 2666 megahertz, we don't need to do this. It automatically detects the same. So that's about it. Hope you guys liked the video, and please hit the subscribe button if you liked it. And I hope you guys stick around for the future videos.
And I leave the links for the purchases that I did through Amazon and Aeroplace. Hope you guys find it of some use and can use it. Hopefully you had fun on this build. I know it was a bit long this time around. It was my first build, so hopefully the next one will be much faster. And if you have your comments, please leave them on the site below. And I look forward to joining you guys for another video soon. Thank you guys. Hope you enjoyed it.